Welcome back to Boss It Up Media. We are so excited to share with you. We're out on location at BX Barrio. I cannot tell you what an amazing spot this is. The smell here smells terrific. The food is cooking in the background, and we have Tony Martinez here. So you're in store for a phenomenal show. I'm going to pass it over to my co-host, Joe Crease, who's going to give us a little bit of an introduction on Tony.
Thank you, Dawn. So our guest today, Tony Martinez, is a serial entrepreneur, owner of Your Brands Inc. and Barrio BX. He is known as a lifestyle marketing guru, a community and activist in New York City, especially in the Bronx, a fraternity brother, and a youth mentor. He is an influencer, an empowerer, and he uplifts. He's known as a dot connector, or like I like to call Lisa, a serial networker. Welcome, Tony.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Yes, so we love that we're here. I love the food here. I love the entertainment. So my question to you is, when you brought Barrio BX here, how did you want to, because you do more than just food. You know, you have the best entertainment. People come here and feel like, you know, they're 20 years younger again, have a great time, but you also give to your community. So how is it that you have done that, bringing Barrio BX into the community with not just food?
So Barrio BX, our mantra is bar, kitchen, culture. So obviously the bar piece is the curated cocktails, the food is the authentic Puerto Rican cuisine, and the culture piece is to celebrate not only Puerto Rican culture, but New Rican culture and Puerto Rican New Ricans' contributions to the aesthetic of New York City, going back years, and the common, to create awareness for the common struggles that people that are, quite frankly, colonized around the world, including Puerto Rico to this day are, and we'd like to bring awareness to that. So we have definitely planted our flag in the ground to say that we stand with the independence movement. We're not ashamed of that. We're proud of that. We like to create and educate people, not only our guests, but just to, through now social media and other means, just what issues the community faces.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I mean, it's just such a beautiful way to impact your community through culture. And I love the mantra. I mean, it says so much.
Thank you. I mean, well, our cultural programming is very curated intentionally. When we first opened, yes, we could have done, and nothing against it, karaoke night and dart night, but we felt that it was important for us to create our lane, if you will, and have more culturally relevant programming. So we have our monthly Bomba Night, and that's been 2.5 years strong. We have our open mic spoken word night that we do. We created a book club where people like, how's a restaurant have a book club? But it was a way to bring together literature aficionados, in a room when it's not always a turn up, but at the same time celebrating Puerto Rican and New Rican authors. And we've had everyone from Nelson Dellis to Xochitl Gonzalez to Sonny Hostin just come and share their books with our community. And again, encouraging people to not only read, but read about ourselves.
Oh my God, I love that.
Wow.
Yes.
We've also had teach little kids how to make mofongo, so again, anything that we can do to incorporate the community, keep them engaged, keep them educated, keep them proud of, again, who they are, where they come from, we're all for it.
Love that.
Seems like you allow this to be like a second home to people and bring cultural awareness where they feel comfortable within their own things that they can compare or it's relevant to them.
Absolutely. That's what we want. That's our tagline, if you will, that we say, come for the food, stay for the vibe. We don't want you to leave. We want
Love
you to
that.
stay. We want you to do, and we don't even call our guests customers, they're familiar to us,
Right.
and they get that sense, where we're a quirky place, we're a small place, but if we're like, hey, we need this table, they'll even volunteer. Like, you need the table, get up,
It's intimate, it's family style.
Very intimate family style,
Yes.
and we love that. And we've also I tell my staff, that you can get rice and beans anywhere. Like it's about coming here for the overall dining experience, and how do you do that? Is by stimulating the five senses. Obviously the music is the hearing, and the smell is, the food, and the visuals on the art is the artwork, and the touch is the customer service that we're going to give you. You know
Yeah,
what I
because from
mean?
the moment I walked in here, I've been starving.
Yeah.
So you know, it just smells so good. So from the moment I got here, I've been starving. And then I just know that every time I've walked in here, the music's been so good. How is it that you pick these DJs? Like, where do they come from? How do you, decide that they're going to make it that special night for each evening that you have?
Well, because I'm here all the time, and thank God that going back to Latin Mix, I have these relationships going back 20, 30 years that I've been able to invite a lot of friends that are DJs, and some of them well known, to come and spin. And they've been very supportive, one, in saying, yeah, of course, I'll come, rock for you, anything for you. When we opened during the pandemic, wasn't planned to open it during the pandemic. It wasn't our intention, but we had to. And once we were kind of allowed to at least let guests inside the restaurant, and then offer something to them, even though you couldn't dance with, you had the mask on. I tapped into a lot of our friends who are DJs and was like, look, I know you're tired of DJing on Twitch and Instagram. Come DJ in front of some people. And it worked out for both of us, So we've had everybody from Tony Touch, Red Alert, Doo-Wop, Louis Vega, Ted Smooth, Jibo. And I think that once we started bringing in the old school DJs, because I'm old and you're old.
We all
Don't say that. Don't say that.
You're not old, you're seasoned.
Yes, it's season. It's season. There we go.
Yeah, vintage.
There was we set the tone in terms of what you expected here, music wise. And nothing against trap music, just like this is not the place for it.
It's not.
But a lot of the DJs that would come to listen to their heroes or their idols were like, how can I spin here? And I was able to meet a lot of this new generation DJs. And for them, it's been refreshing to come spin at a place that I'm like, listen, man, I got two rules here. Number one is, I don't expect you to bring nobody. You're not a promoter, but the only thing I expect is to keep the people. Keep them here by playing music that they're gonna, and it's just feel good music. It's classic music from all genres. People like, how come we don't have a salsa night? It's like, we always play salsa all the time. So people love that. If young people come and they feel the vibe and they love it, then you're more than welcome. We've had young people come like, it's old music. It's like, cool. There's a lot of other spots that play relevant.
Exactly.
Nothing against you. We just know our lane.
Yeah.
And then from there, we've created kind of like signature, like our freestyle old school brunch with DJ Lucho that now has become an institution. And
Brunch. Oof.
people, this past Sunday, I got here at 11 a.m. I left at 11 p.m.
Yikes.
And I talked to my business partner. He was like, remember the people down on the island? Yeah, they left at 2 o'clock. They broke the record. They were here 14 hours.
Wow.
They got here at 12 noon. They left at 2 a.m.
This spot gets turned.
They had brunch, lunch, dinner, everything.
It might be us today.
Might be us today.
So we're keeping the party going. Just wanted you to know. We're keeping the party going after
we
that.
want.
We're not
Stay
going
for the
anywhere. We
vibe.
feel like family already. There's so much truth in what you're saying. As soon as
thank
we
you.
walk in, the atmosphere, your energy, you really do give it that family
Appreciate that. Thank
feel.
you.
And then you also touched upon something that really inspired me by you opening during the pandemic. That must have been so tough, and we want to hear all about it. But
Yes, before that, let's take a quick break and we'll get to it.
Yeah.
¡Wow! ¡Qué programación más rica! Por acá, por Latino Mix.
Welcome back to Boss It Up Media. Again, we are just so excited to be here at BX Barrio. We're going to continue our conversation with Tony Martinez. Tony, we started to chat a little bit about how you opened up during the pandemic. I know a lot of businesses, and it must have been such a struggle, but you persevered, and look at how successful you are now. Can you just share a little bit with us what that was like for you?
Sure. Even though it was just 3 years ago, I remember it like it was yesterday
Sure.
because it was a nightmare. No one anticipated a global pandemic. We were supposed to open March 2020. That's when they announced the global
Wow.
pandemic. Everything was shut down. So we took our time to just understand what was happening, the guidelines, and then finally we said we have to open. We're paying rent. The only good thing was no one knew we were going to open. So we didn't open. We were about to, and I'm very superstitious that I don't like to jinx things, so I didn't tell anybody about it until September 1st when it's like, okay, this is our opening, and I call all friends and fraternity brothers and family, and I was like, hey, I'm opening up a restaurant. Oh, that's awesome. When? Today, come. And, we had 40, 50 people come, and it was fantastic. In New York, the dining restrictions were very tough. So you
Yes.
had to check the temperatures, and you had to write people's name down, and you had to wear the mask, and we had to get the dividers. And when we first opened, you couldn't even come in. So imagine I invite you to my brand new restaurant, and you can't even come in. So you could only sit outside. Then they started to allow 10%, which was 10 people, then 15 people, and imagine you hear salsa playing and you walk in and I'm telling you, hey, you can't dance because you weren't allowed to dance. And then you get up to go to the bathroom and I'm like, oh, you got to put your mask on. And they were like, yo, get out of here. You're getting on my nerves. Or you walk in and I'm putting the temperature gun to your head. By then I was just like, yeah. Like,
Especially in the Bronx, right?
Yeah, 98, fine, you're fine, go in, because it was too much.
Yeah.
It was.
But your resilience,
Yeah.
right? Because the fact that there were restaurants closing, and here you are
And you still
fighting
here.
against the current and opening, and then having the turnout that you had, and still here today. So it's commendable.
I mean, it's a testament, obviously, to our hardworking, dedicated staff, and of course, our guests, who I refer to as familia, that they understood our intentions and they understood what we wanted to do before we even did it. And once we started rolling out our programming and once we started bringing in, again, I go back to the DJs that they were like, you open up a spot, I'm there. What do you want me to do? When you want me to come spin, don't pay me or I'll give you the love rate. And to this day, again, like I'm so indebted to all of the support. And that's why I always feel that it's so important for me to pass it, pass it on and pay it forward.
Yeah.
And also create a hub not only for the community but for my friend. You want to do a podcast? Let's do it. Anything anybody
it.
wants to do, let's do it because
Yes.
we have a place that we can call a home. We have a hub that we can come and we can build. Because I remember how it used to be when we used to have to go to these downtown Blanquito spots. I remember doing a networking event, Latino professional networking event at a place on 3rd Avenue and 24th Street. And the manager was like, I don't want this crowd here. It's not a right fit for my crowd. And I'm like, this is professional Latino people, and you don't want. So it's clearly like
That's
the
ridiculous.
bias that we're known for. And a lot of us, we kind of, sometimes we're oblivious to it because we can get into these places. But I know that if we're the exception, and I don't like that. And I've been very vocal with spots like that, and that was why my dream was to have a spot, and it's come true.
That's great.
That's
It sounds
awesome,
like
that's
you're,
awesome.
You're a tremendous advocate
Yeah.
in the community, which I'm sure you've been a blessing to many.
Yeah.
And I love the term love rate. I've never heard that before, but I'm definitely going to keep it in my pocket and use that.
With
So
the
can
with
I-
the great success that you've had with this restaurant, do you have plans of expanding or going to other locations? What do you have going on now?
Absolutely.
Queens.
Island?
to
Long
do,
Island?
Barrio BK, Barrio NYC, Barrio Queens, JC. I've had
Yes.
friends. Bring it to
Let's
to
go.
DC. Bring it to Atlanta.
That's awesome.
Obviously, there's two factors. And one is the money, because I still would want to maintain control. Because somebody comes in with the money, that means they're going to control.
Of course,
And I
yeah.
got to make sure that the vibe and the energy is consistent. The second part is related to that is we have to be there, like a hands-on One, like my staff will tell you, there's a piece of paper on the floor, I'm picking it up. So I'm very hands-on in terms of just making sure that everything is right in the place, but also I'm the face of the place.
Well, you got to figure out a way to clone yourself.
Yeah, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Because I'm sure that, you know, everything that you've poured into this place is what has made it what it is. So you definitely got to figure out a way to clone yourself, because we want to see you in Long Island,
I would
Queens.
love to be everywhere.
Yes, yes.
So that means
definitely.
everybody has to come out and support BX Barrio. Come here, spend your money, keep spending money, so this way we can have expansion.
Yes,
Absolutely.
we'd love that.
Absolutely. So, Tony, quick question. In addition to expanding, you being the notorious dot connector, what kind of legacy do you want to leave, and what do you want to inspire others to do?
I want to inspire people to share, of themselves, of their resources. I want my legacy to continue to be known as someone that cared about the community, cared about our issues, used his platforms to celebrate that. I've done the influencer marketing before we created the influencer marketing.
Yeah.
And it was my challenge to all those influencers, whether it was a promoter or a DJ or whatever socialite, was like, you have a responsibility. You have a responsibility to the community. I'm the
Yeah.
king of parties.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'm also very concerned about issues that affect my people. And it can be a balance, because we're not just one-dimensional people that is like, hey, it's party time, and who calls it? No, we can have conversations. That's why here we have the book club, and we have the bomba, but then we have the
What's the
freestyle
bomba?
brunch.
What's the bomba?
Yeah,
So
what is the
bomba
bomba?
is traditional African, Puerto Rican music. And a lot of people confuse it that it's bomba y plena. So bomba is one form of music and plena is another. Bomba is the oldest form, and it goes back to the drum of any so-called Latin American country or Caribbean, where it was always the form of expression and a form of resistance. And when you come here, you feel it.
must be so
almost like
beautiful.
you
Like, people
feed your
really
body and soul that
Wow.
night.
Right.
I have a niece that actually just got into, I'm not sure which one it is, but she, they wear the skirt and they do the
That's
dance.
exactly what it is.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I keep seeing her. And she actually just moved to San Diego, and she's doing it out there as well, which is amazing. So you got to
And
take
again,
it
we
everywhere you
want to
are.
create awareness for it. We want to, let people. We've had so many people come, and now they take bomba classes, whether it's dance or drumming, with the group that comes to play
great.
here. And I don't like to say perform, because they're not performers. They're more like messengers through the drum. It's therapy for your soul. In the DR, they have Palo, obviously.
Yes.
It's very similar. So you begin to see the connections from the people who have been, oppressed, and the forms of resistance that they use, and the drum is one of them. And those are the commonalities that we've brought. We've had legacy women who are primarily a Dominican, Afro-Dominican women's group, and they play palo. And again, it's amazing. And then you like, this is it. This is a way to express resistance and to create awareness. Not only for the culture but for the issues that we face.
Right.
So important. And it's so beautiful when you see someone that has as much as the success that you've had with the restaurant utilize your platform to impact your community in such a great way. It's, I think, such a useful tool to mentor the youth. Do you get a lot of youth that come here, or what's the crowd usually like?
Our core demographic is a little older, but we do get young people to come. But we do have a lot of organizations that come, whether it's the League of Puerto Rican Women or the fraternities, the sororities, the local softball teams, and the old timers stickball. So the Nationalist Party, they'll come here, and they're very impressive when they walk in their uniforms after their meetings.
And I've seen you also represent Barrio BX at Gracie Mansion.
Yes.
Yes.
So we were fortunate enough to, we're invited 2 years in a row to do the catering for the Puerto Rican Heritage
beautiful.
reception at Gracie Mansion. So it's a great place to network, obviously, and again, to to let brand awareness, but also people sample the food and be like, oh, let me go check it out, you know.
Which
So-
is where I reconnected with Mr.
Yeah.
Tony Martinez again.
So where did your first beginnings of entrepreneurship started?
Ooh, I like that one. Good question.
Technically, if you want to go back, would be like in third grade.
Third grade.
I love that.
Because there's these old school magazines, Tiger Beat, and I would buy them, and I would rip out the posters and sell them in the school.
Look
you know,
at
so there'll be
him.
Leif Garrett or Chachi from Happy Days, and the girls in the
Yeah,
elementary school. So I was buying it for $0.25, but then I was selling the poster for like 50 cents. And I was like,
Nice.
so I would just always do that, you
That's
know,
awesome.
and then.
Where did you learn that?
Yeah.
Like, were your parents
I
entrepreneurs?
just by accident. It
Just by accident.
Yeah, I was like, oh,
Money
I
making,
can
right?
flip this quarter. And then I was on the pretzel, like, you know, I don't know, like back in the
pretzel
day.
rods?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
used to go around to each classroom with the pretzels, but then I would be like, all right, you want to buy pretzel on the side, you know what I mean? So it was like knockoff pretzels.
Instead of Lucy Goosey.
I was like, all right, you don't have enough for a pretzel, but I got you. And and that's why I'm very passionate about teaching young people, especially my son, you know, entrepreneurship, because you don't learn that in
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
You know, you're just
Nope,
kind of
you don't.
trained, and especially in households of immigrants where your parents and your family want to see a professional, a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, but not a business owner. My parents never knew what I did. They couldn't understand what I did, you know, and because again, they were like 9 to 5. My father religiously getting up at 6 a.m. to go to work. He never missed a day. Come home, look at us with a dirty look, go to sleep. You know what I mean? But did he provide for us? Yeah, and I'm sure we all had those same experiences. But there was no one there to encourage. There was no one there to kind of like structure it. So when you asked before about the mentoring, we're very big on that. Like I have mentors not only through my fraternity, you know, but just young kids that come here and that have like taken a liking to us.
Right.
You know, and I say young kids, but they're like college kids or, you know, just young professionals. And they're like, I want to do what you do. And I'm like, yeah, I want you to do what I do. And I want you to be better,
Yep.
bigger, better. You know what I mean?
That's beautiful. I mean, you know, it's so needed now too, because that's one of our goals at Boss It Up Media is we want to highlight these young entrepreneurs, and hearing your success and your, you know, road that it took together, even starting in third grade, you know, hustling pictures and pretzels. I mean, it's inspiring to the next generation that there is success in being your own boss.
Well, let's continue on the next segment. Let's take a quick break and we'll be back.
Awesome.
¡Wow! ¡Qué programación más rica! Por acá, por Latino Mix.
Welcome back to Boss It Up Media. I cannot tell you, we have a problem. I mean, look at this amazing spread that they have put out for us. The smell, the food, oh my goodness. Like, I feel like I'm in Puerto Rico right now. I'm so excited to dig into this. So, Ralph, I'm going to pass it over to you, and excuse me while I just taste the piece
Same
of it.
here, same here.
Do
I'm
you?
definitely having a piece.
Hey, quick question, Tony. I know you're all about inclusion. Inclusion in regards to the community and our culture. Does that come from being in the fraternities and being in that Greek world?
It comes from just understanding. I'm a history buff, so growing up, you know, history is one subject that can be very subjective if you don't learn, obviously, both sides of the story. And I kind of base all of my opinions on evidential facts. So if it's wrong, and I'm going to call it out. Obviously, growing up in Queens, New York, you know, I faced a lot of discrimination and outright prejudices and racism, you know, where in that very same elementary school, you know, I remember it was Kill Spick Day, and me going to the principal, and I'm in the 6th grade, like,
My goodness.
these kids are gonna kill me. And the principal, Irish, you know, like, all right, you can leave half hour early. That didn't solve the problem. And they were still going to kill me, you know? So that kind of aligned my perspectives with struggles, not only in the United States, but throughout the world. And just knowing that we have that common experience and background in, you know, again, who has been colonized in this world, you know, and by who and why, and understanding those, why that's happened and why it continues to happen and why you have to continue to speak out against it, you know, and take a stand and support those communities. So when I was in college, I wind up joining a black fraternity, you know, and I was already influenced because one of my best friends from the neighborhood had pledged it, but I was a little bit naive to the national and international impact that I had. I was just like, oh, you go to Syracuse, I'm coming to visit you. These guys are cool. This school is cool. So I'm going to just come to this school and join this frat without really realizing until I started doing the research once I joined the frat, like, wow, so many impactful men have been in the fraternity, are in the fraternity, you know, and that I draw a lot of inspiration from. You know, I can go back to Arturo Schomburg, you know, who coined the term Afro-Borinqueño. He was in my fraternity. To this day, Colin Kaepernick and Arthur Ashe and Reginald Lewis, the first black billionaire. So all of that combined, and then what our legacy is as of what this fraternity stands for, not only achievement, but to help, you know, to make sure that the community is uplifted. So all of that, I was like, yes, I align with these values and I understand what they want to do, and I think I can amplify it by joining them and vice versa. Like, they support me, I support them. Like I said, when I opened, you know, I called all friends and family, 40 people showed up. 35 of them were fraternity brothers. You know, there's not a day that, if one day goes by and a fraternity brother doesn't come, I'm like, hey, what's going on here? You know, every day I have one brother.
It's a true brotherhood.
You know, so it is a true brotherhood that I'm committed to, and because they know I'm committed to it, they're committed to me and supporting me.
And that's great. That's great. Hey, it's a true community, and especially that you're in the Bronx, Barrio BX, where it's all about community and it is all about family. So that is awesome to hear.
And what made you start in the Bronx?
Yeah.
So my business partner, Ruben, who I've known 25 plus years, he's already a restaurant owner, very successful restaurateur. He owns Havana Cafe, that's straight down East Tremont. And he had this location as a Mexican place. It was called Cabo. And he parted ways with his partners, and he said, I'm going to change the concept and make it Puerto Rican. And he knew that I've always wanted to have my own place too, so he's like, let's partner up on it. But we just talking in terms of how it was going to be, I was like, it just can't be like the ruffled feathers, you know, and the parrot on the wall, like that stereotypical look, you know, of the Caribbean. I was like, it has to be gritty. It has to reflect who we are and our experience coming up. It has to be like and I had a friend of mine say, he's like, it's not really a Puerto Rican spot. It's like a New Rican spot.
Yes.
Yep.
You know, and I took it as a compliment because that's who we are, and that's
Right.
the diaspora who really leads the movements, you know, and has been really the influencers and creators of trends and issues, and nothing to take anything away from the island. You know what I mean? The island's the home for the Puerto Rico people. But if you look at like salsa music, it was created by Puerto Ricans in the Bronx. Hip hop, Puerto Ricans in the Bronx. Freestyle, Puerto Ricans in the Bronx. House music, you know, we've had house music DJs here, and I've had guests come like, why are you playing house music? It's a Puerto Rican place. I'm like, do you realize the top 30 DJs are Puerto Rican
Sound just
in
like
house
my
music?
husband.
I'm like, are you kidding me? Right.
love that.
You know, so, but it reflects who we are and how we grew up.
Yeah.
You give them a little history lesson too, which is
I
good.
try to, you know, and again, like that's why you'll see a mural of Don Pedro Albizu Campo on the wall, where before we opened and we took down the plastic, the newspaper on the, people were like, oh, if you got Don Pedro on the wall, I'm coming in here because I already know where you
Love
guys, who you stand for. Even the black flag, like. So again, it was like us telling people who we are without kind of like in your face about it, And then once you started seeing the people that were here, you're like, it's not. It's interesting people, and we became a destination spot. Where it's like, came from Connecticut, from Long Island, Jersey. On the flip side, I'd be like, we came from Connecticut. I want to sit down. I'm like, listen, I can't tell these guys, like, hey, this guy came from Connecticut. You got to get on his feet. I'm like, you got to wait like everybody else.
Right.
Even that, like, I'm like, look, we don't do no reservations.
Yeah.
Everything's done here democratically. First come, first serve.
Get here early. Get here early.
Right.
It's the right way.
I
So
love
Tony, as a restaurateur or an entrepreneur, what type of tips would you give someone that would be wanting to work for themselves?
Regardless of whatever business you want to create for yourself, make sure that you love it. Like that it's hard work, but it's fun for you and it's fulfilling. So pick your lane, and pick your passion, and follow your passion. And that's what's going to drive you to be successful. My background, even though I'm new to restaurant, I've been in marketing and hospitality for 30 years. So I know what it is to create a memorable experience. And that's what I try to enforce to my staff every day. Like, people have to leave here like, God damn, like I had the best time of my life.
Yep.
Again, going back to the food and the music and the customer service and the attention, and it comes natural for me because I love that. Some people don't like it, and that's fine. You have this million
Other
lanes
places
for
to go.
you
Plenty of other
do
places to go.
do you. And I'm sure you're gonna meet and hear all about it on this wonderful podcast. So keep tuning in.
And with that, I wanted you to announce the different days. What is it that you have on a Monday, on a Tuesday? Like, what are the different themes
And share
that you
your
have?
address, please.
And share your address and your Instagram.
Yes, absolutely. So our Instagram, BarrioBX, BarrioBX. We're open from Wednesdays to Sundays for now. And once a month, usually the third Wednesday, although we don't brand it like that, is our Bomba Night, which you guys have to come
I
for.
want
Yes, ooh.
We're
Yes.
gonna have to.
Our poetry open mic is the second Wednesday, but it's same, subject to change.
Right.
And then our book club meets once a month on a Wednesday, the last Wednesday of the month. But again, that's pretty much like our cultural programming. And then we just had a film screening for Afro Latinos, amazing documentary. So we'll do one-off film screenings, documentaries to support up-and-coming filmmakers that are relevant to the culture. That's once a quarter. And then we have DJs, amazing DJs, the top DJs. I'm very biased, but you named them, and I'm sure they're your favorite DJs. We'll have DJs from Thursday to Sunday, including our brunch, which is Saturday, Sundays, noon to 4. But every day is always something dope
And
happening.
poetry open mic. I love that.
You would love it. We partnered with the New Rican Poets Cafe to do pop-ups with them right before, because they were going to close down for a 3-year renovation, so to keep them relevant. And they were, again, aligning with partners who they know, like, it makes sense for us. We have the same kind of values, goals, demographics. Yes, there's a little overlap, but we both support each other.
And
That's
it's great
dope.
that you're giving so many different people an open area to come and share their talents and share, what they have as well. That's awesome.
I mean, look, going back to my official professional career, it was in the 90s when me and a group of guys started a hip-hop magazine, Stress, and it's just facts. It's the first magazine to put Eminem, Jay-Z, Roots,
remember that.
Fat
that.
Joe, all on the cover, and then do events with these guys, because they were still up-and-coming artists.
Yeah.
I remember it was our first time doing, I'm in the office, I'm smoking a blunt with the crew. All of a sudden, I had the bright idea, we're gonna get a float in the Puerto Rican parade. And at that time, it was just like big corporate companies, American, Airlines and Goya, and they were like, no way, how you gonna pull it off? And I pulled it off, but the first guy called, was like, yo, Tone, Touch, yo, I got a float. Yo, want you to do music. Okay, great. He's like, no, but I'm gonna bring these guys from Puerto Rico to come up. I was like, yeah, okay, cool, bring them. I had no idea it was gonna be the first introduction of reggaeton to New York. You know what I mean? But again,
Wow,
that
that's-
openness and the willingness to say, yeah, let's do it, let's
Right.
try it. You know, like let's put somebody on, even if it's may not work that moment, but it's gonna work.
Right.
Or you recognize it.
Yep.
You know?
I love the vision. I mean, you know, the more you share, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just so impactful in so many ways. Like, you've really had a hand in helping a lot of people. So if anybody hasn't told you recently, like, be proud of yourself for what you've done in the
Absolutely.
community.
Thank you.
Really.
Yeah.
And you used to do a lot of like networking events, like back in the day. I mean, you're still doing
Yeah,
them now,
absolutely.
but I remember 20 years ago, you putting all those events together and everyone just meeting, connecting, and now more people are doing it
Such
now.
an iconic individual.
Yes.
Wow.
Thank you. I mean, again, it just goes back to just being true to what you want to do in terms of being a resource to the community, being able to support the community, and then it comes back to you. You don't ask for it, but it comes back to you. It's
a beautiful thing.
I always say that everything you seed, you harvest. So whatever you seed that's good, you're going to harvest from it, as well as bad, you'll
Absolutely.
harvest from it too. So
Thank you.
And you shared you have a son. One son? You shared you have a son. You have one son?
Yes, I have one
Is he
amazing son.
following in your footsteps?
Somewhat, like you remember how like in the Chinese restaurant, the hole in the wall in the neighborhood, you always saw the little Chinese kids doing homework,
Yeah.
and then 10 years later, you see them working the counter, then they own the place. So again, I try to break it down to him, like what this is to him, like his legacy in terms of, you're gonna own this business.
Yeah.
You know, like 10 years, you're gonna own it. By then, you're gonna know how to be. You have had work in every position: server, busboy, bartender, whatever. It's up to you to take it over,
Yep.
or it's up to you to have it and sell it, and do something bigger. But the most important thing is you've understood how to run a business and what it takes to run a business. He's still a little kid, so again, he's like, "All right, can we go play?" You know? And I try to. There's been times where I'm like, oh shit, he's been here 8 hours and he's getting delirious. Where I'm like, I take it for granted, like, come on, of course you want to be here with me all day, but he also wants to spend quality time with me. And that's when I gotta okay, I'll be back. And me and him gotta go do, father and son stuff.
I love that. How old is he?
11.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow. Yeah, yeah.
It's in his blood, regardless.
I hope. I mean, like one day we were, in the park and we're playing. And this is when he was little, like maybe 4 or 5 years old. And he was like, "Hey, I got the ice cream. I got ice cream stand." And he's like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "Give me strawberry pistachio, 2 scoops." And he's like, "How much?" I'm like, "How much?" $2. I'm like, "Okay, but why is it $2?" And he's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, you have to understand that. You have to make sure that." And he's like, yo. But again, it was just me always like, you got to make sure that you do this, that, or this. And then I hope that eventually it sinks in.
It
the
will.
same
It
message.
will, yes.
But I think for now, a lot of it is over his head.
Right.
Yes.
But you'll be surprised. He'll be
I hope.
on a podcast
It's
one
gonna
day talking
happen.
about the
Yep.
ice cream scoop.
I hope.
Yes. Tony, thank you so much for all your insights and your knowledge. But we do have to take a quick break, and we will be back.
¡Wow! ¡Qué programación más rica! Por acá, por Latino Mix.
Welcome back to Boss It Up Media. We have had so much fun with this episode. I mean, we ate amazing. We have had such great conversation. Make sure that you tune in and follow us. Our IG is Boss It Up Media. You can also follow us on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and like so that you make sure you keep up with all of our episodes. We want to just thank thank you again. I'm going to pass it over to Lisa to just say a little something.
No, seriously, Tony, thank you so much for your time, for having us here, for sharing your delicious food, letting us know about all the events that you have here and how much you give back to your community. It's been great knowing you for so many years and now being back here after so long to watch you do such incredible things. So thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And speaking of delicious food, if your mouth was salivating at the amazing picadera,
Seriously.
you guys could come to Barrio BX. It is located in 3764 East Tremont Avenue in the Boogie Down Bronx. Wednesday through Fridays at 4 p.m. and Saturdays and Sundays it opens at noon.
Well,
Thank you.
you could tell Joe Crease is from the Bronx. That's
She said the boogie down.
I love that. But thank you.
Well, if I'm Ralph Holmes NYC IG, and thank you so much, Tony, for the pleasure of speaking with you and interviewing you. You are such a blessing and an iconic person for the Bronx community. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you guys. And Boss It Up always has a home here at Barrio BX.
Thank you.
Get ready, because we're going to be here very often. We want to come to
That's what
all
we
your
want.
specialty nights and make sure that you guys come visit, support Tony, support his community, because as you heard, the impact that he's made has just been phenomenal. And we definitely want to come alongside of you and hope to see you in Long Island and Queens
Yes.
and DC and everywhere, just so that you can pour into those communities as well.
Thank you.
And your personal IG?
It's T Martinez 87, and then Barrio again is Barrio BX. Simple.
Awesome.
Yes, absolutely. And you should share, Joquise, share your IG as well.
It is at Jacrease, Jocrys.
Yes, and thank you so much. Thank you, Tony, for this interview, and we will wrap it up. And thank you so much once again, Boss It Up Media. Catch us on the next episode. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye, take care.